and welcome to Bass Hacks. This time I'd like to take a little look at some slap bass technique with you. I think this style, it's such a fun thing to get down, and I think right here, right now, every bass player needs to have a bit of this in their toolbox. Some level of facilitation to be able to do this. Plus it's great fun, you know, it puts the bass a little bit more out front. As far as research goes, you really need to trace it from the source. I think back in the day when I was starting to use this a lot, it was a case of, it seemed like every band, every song was using this technique. But I think nowadays you've just got to be able to use a bit of it appropriately, okay? Having said that, there are many bands out there. Again, it's down to the style and the genre of the song, which will ultimately make this work, okay? So, yeah, as far as players go, I would check out, always trace it from the source. There are so many players right now doing amazing things with this technique, but I would go back to Larry Graham, Louis Johnson, and the Brothers Johnson. More recently, I suppose, into the 80s and 90s, you've got Mark King, Marcus Miller, Stanley Clarke. I would go for Stuart Hamm as well, and then Victor Wooten, and the list goes on and on. So it's a great fun technique. So we're going to start off with the plucking hand. So the thumb, you're kind of more of a drummer at this point rather than a bass player. You're kind of, it's like half and half. So your timing has to be spot on. There's nothing worse than hearing slap bass out of time. It's got to lock and it's got to groove, because you're locking in with a rhythm, and you know, that is, as you know, that is number one, okay, from our point of view, from a bass player's point of view. So thumb, and we're going to try and get a nice clean note on the open strings. So E, A, D, G. So it's important that you hit the string at the same point, okay, so that you get, you know, the same tone and the same sound, so you've got to hit it at the same velocity. Try not to leave your thumb on the string, okay, otherwise this happens. It kind of turns into a bit of a dead note with an overtone harmonic. It's not what you want. It needs to be a nice, clean note, okay? So that's the first thing with your plucking hand. So with your fretting hand, what we're actually going to do is we're going to use a bit of a percussive attack, okay? So that we get almost like another dead note, but not using the thumb, using the left hand or your fretting hand. So it doesn't have to be note specific. In fact, you don't need a note or a harmonic, you just need a dead note. Okay? So then if we introduce a pat, and then we can start by introducing a pluck as well on the plucking hand. So here, a lot of people, I mean, you can use just your individual fingers, but it's kind of nice and rhythmically a little bit more secure initially if you use a little bit more forearm to get the actual plucked note, okay? So if we put that into a combination, so I'm going to use open E, pat, dead note thumb, and a pluck, okay? So E, if we put that together, again, metronome on, 80 BPM, I would say, is a good starting point. Thumb, pat, dead note thumb, pluck. You can use open string as well on the G if you wanted to. But then again, it depends what song you're playing. This is just going to be, I'm thinking a shuffle groove, okay? So the bass is essentially going to play what the drums would play, with one or two fills. We'll get onto that in a moment. So here's the groove. So 2 E's. Okay, we speed that up a little bit. you've got that kind of almost like a train moving, isn't it? If we were to play straight eighths with sixteenths, again, getting this technique down, certainly using the pat, leaves, you know, your plucking hand, it just eases that up a little bit so that it's not, a lot of people think it's all in the plucking hand and the thumb, but it's not. It's actually dampening with the left hand as well, okay? So let's go back to the shuffle groove. So we could do a little fill. We could use up thumb if you wanted to. Making the fill. Okay? Also, as far as triplets go, we could also use the first and the second finger to create the triplet rhythm as well. So if we put that within the groove, here's the shuffle. So what I'm doing there is I'm plucking out with 2 fingers. So again, it's metronome on, really slow, and just getting the 2 fingers in the D and the G strings to build it up. So we put that into the shuffle groove. Okay, so just a couple of techniques just to get you started. But again, metronome on, make sure you're playing it in time. It has to groove, it has to be in the pocket. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for some more. Bye for now.